Hi, everyone. My name is Berenice Chaboya from Social Policy Research Associates, or SPR. For those of you who don't know us, SPR is a small firm located in downtown Oakland, and we've had the honor of serving as the evaluation partner for OFCY and its grantees over the past several years. I want to thank you for taking the time to view this webinar, which describes more information about the Program Quality Self-Assessment Tool, or PQSA, and provides directions about how to take this online survey. SPR designed the PQSA specifically for you, the OFCY grantees, to provide you with data about progress toward program quality and support you in understanding how this progress aligns with your expectations or to consider potential course corrections if necessary. At the end of this process, SPR will develop a program-level report that is designed to support your continuous program improvement goals. The report will not be shared publicly and is intended for your internal use. The goals for this webinar are to describe our process for developing the PQSA, go over components of the PQSA, and provide directions on how to complete the survey for your program. A second webinar will be shared later to provide information on how to read your program quality self-assessment report and how you can use it to inform and improve your program. So as a reminder, and in case you need more context, the PQSA replaced the YPQA visits that you may have hosted previously. And I wanted to begin by sharing a bit more information to describe our process for developing the PQSA. So during the first year of the grant cycle, SPR held a grantee feedback and brainstorming session during a grantee convening. We then also conducted an extensive literature review of other existing program quality tools, including the White Card Center's Youth Program Quality Assessment and others. Drawing from grantee feedback and this review, we grouped your ideas into different categories, or what we call dimensions. And by coupling these two components together, we were able to bring in the context of the needs of your programs here in Oakland and combine those with research on positive youth development and parent engagement for young children. In doing this, we created the OFCY PQSA tool. So I'm now going to turn to break down the PQSA, describing the tool in a little bit more detail over the next few slides. The tool itself is divided into 6 dimensions that together will provide helpful information about each organization and their efforts in providing quality program. Some of these will sound familiar as they overlap with dimensions on the PQA, but they were also seen as important components both from your feedback and what other tools recognize as important for programming in our communities. So the first dimension focuses on the program's safe and healthy environment. Questions or items in this dimension measure the extent to whether organizations provide programs that are physically safe, healthy, and inclusive environments for all participants, staff, and their families. The second dimension centers on the program's supportive environment. This dimension centers on programs' efforts to support positive peer relationships with participants and establish a positive and productive learning environment. Questions or items in this area explore how programs plan, how they focus on skill development, and how they give participants a voice in the development and refinement of program policies. The third dimension focuses on interaction and leadership and centers on encouraging participants' sense of belonging and establishing clear mechanisms for feedback on program practices. It also highlights opportunities for participants to work in teams or collaborate with each other and develop leadership skills with peers and staff. The fourth dimension focuses on planning, choices, and reflection, and identifies opportunities for participants to engage in planning, exercise choice in content and in the process of program activities, and reflect on their accomplishments and the overall program. The fifth dimension is looking at diversity and inclusion and reviews practices that contribute to positive participant experiences. It includes items that assess programs' ability to promote diversity and inclusion, such as through written mission statements or outreach materials, recruitment of diverse participants and staff, design of activities and programming that promote and encourage expression of participant culture and identities, and has accessibility to participants with disability. The sixth and final dimension explores partnerships. So this area assesses programs' ability to establish and develop partnerships with other organizations and agencies to expand services and resources for youth and participants. It also explores programs' efforts to increase sustainability through partnerships and collaboration. So most program quality assessments focus solely on providing measures of progress in quality dimensions. And while that gives programs a sense of their strengths and areas for potential improvement, they do not necessarily provide programs with some direction on where they might direct their energy strategically as they work towards this goal. So we recognize that having this kind of extra support is useful for programs that are doing so much but are already so stretched in capacity. So to further support OFCY grantees, we included 2 different scales designed to give programs both a sense of where they are in terms of their quality measures, but also some data that might help them decide what to prioritize and how as they develop plans for program improvement. So I'm going to show you how the survey looks on the platform in a second, but I wanted to first take some time to explain the scales we're using. So let's start with the progress scale. So we recognize that program quality is an iterative process that requires honest self-reflection to continuously improve programs. We also recognize that it is unrealistic for any program to be at the highest level of quality in every arena, and that everybody has room to grow. So the progress scale is designed to highlight your progress toward exploring and refining program practices, but also highlighting practices that are seen as areas of quality. And as you can see here, it is a 4-point scale, with the lowest being exploring and the highest being exemplary. And generally, you can think of these in this way. In number 1, exploring, our program is just beginning to work in this area. Program staff are engaged in discussions and planning on how to develop and implement these practices. Number 2, developing, our program has done some work in this area, but will need targeted support to move to the next level. Our program is making progress, or we work with some participants, but not all, in this area and can improve further. Number 3, proficient. Our program has achieved a high level of proficiency in this area and needs only a little additional work to be exceptionally proficient. Our program is very good at this practice, and it applies to most participants' experiences in the program. Number 4, exemplary. Our program is exceptionally proficient in this practice and can demonstrate this in observable ways. This applies to all participants in the program, and this is an area of quality practice where our program can serve as an example to others. You will also see a second survey scale, the priority for action scale. This scale is also on a 4-point scale that runs from not a priority as a 1 and high priority as a 4. And let me explain what we mean by priority for action. So we find that across the items or questions on the PQSA, it's likely that you will find that they are all important or of priority for your program. And we want to be clear that for the purposes of this scale, priority does not just mean whether or not something is important. Again, we know most, if not all of you, would consider most of these items to be that you would prioritize as important. But we also assume it is neither realistic nor helpful to name all these areas as something to prioritize for action, nor to assume acting on all areas is even possible for most programs. So this scale is designed to help you choose what makes sense in terms of what to focus on, to prioritize areas for action so that you can focus your energies and resources strategically on what makes sense for you based on your program goals, strengths, and capacities. So let me give you an example. One of the items under the supportive environment dimension states, our program co-develops and consistently communicates our code of conduct with participants and staff. If you run a youth leadership program, for instance, this practice may have become so ingrained and rooted as part of your program schedule that while it continues to be a priority, it may not be a priority that warrants action or improvement. So in this case, we would choose not a priority or low priority because it's probably not an area that needs a lot of attention and therefore not one that you would rate as a high priority for action. Let me share a second example. So some of you may not indicate something as a priority for action simply because you have no control over the matter. For example, we recognize that you may operate a program at a location where you don't have the authority to make changes in the environment, like at a school or maybe a hospital or another location. In those cases, when you come across the item in a safe and healthy environment that states, we develop, refine, and implement gender-inclusive policies and practices to create a safe environment for all participants, e.g. access to gender-inclusive bathrooms. You may end up unable to rate it as a high priority for action, not because it's not important for you or your organization, but because you have limited powers in taking actual action on it. As such, in these cases, you would select not applicable, not a priority, or low priority. So as a quick recap, the OFCY PQSA includes 6 quality dimensions: safe and healthy environment, supportive environment, interaction and leadership, planning choices and reflection, diversity and inclusion, partnerships. And it also includes 2 scales, the progress scale and the priority scale. So I'm now going to turn to the survey tool to walk you through the different components. But before I do that, I want to share some pieces of information on how you will access your online survey link. So SPR will send out an email to the contact representative and program representative listed on Cityspan. The email will include the link to the OFCY evaluation spreadsheet. You may have already seen this spreadsheet, as it also includes all materials for your participant surveys. And as a quick reminder, the spreadsheet is organized by agency and program name as it is listed on Cityspan. So once you click on this survey link, you will scroll to the right to find the specific link for your PQSA survey under Online Survey Links. The link will then take you to the PQSA landing page, which provides an overview of the PQSA, instructions for completing the survey, and then we also include 2 hyperlinks to the Program Quality Scales reference document, which provides information on each scale and ratings, and a PDF version of the survey itself in case you would like to print it out. We provide a deadline toward the bottom and information on reaching me if you have any questions. So after you click Next, we ask a series of background questions. These include your organization name, your program name, if this is your program name, your program site, if this is applicable, your name, and note that this is only used for tracking purposes and will not be shared, your role in the organization, and whether or not you're the OFCY contact. After completing these background questions, you will see the first PQSA dimension, the safe and healthy environment dimension. So in this section and all subsequent ones, you will read through each statement and provide your assessment of progress using the selections to the right. If you don't know, or if this is not applicable to your program, you can select don't know or not applicable. You will then scroll down and you will see the same set of statements for this area and select your program's priority level for action. Not a priority, low priority, priority, high priority, or don't know or not applicable. Finally, we included 2 open-ended optional sections toward the bottom that you can use to highlight your program's effective strategies in promoting each area and what additional supports might be needed to further your growth. You will continue the same process for each of the 6 PQSA dimensions. So before I leave you, I wanted to share a few more pieces of information. So here are some tips for effectively launching the assessment. You should have multiple staff members that represent a diversity of staff levels take the assessment. We find that the results are more useful for programs when they bring together diverse perspectives, and you can engage staff, key volunteers, board members, those who have a keen understanding or are actively involved in your program. You can also engage staff from multiple levels, from managers and supervisors to directors to frontline staff. And this diversity of voices helps to provide a more accurate picture on your program and may surface unheard perspectives on the different quality dimensions. When it comes to reviewing the data, you'll be able to see if there's a mismatch between your program's strengths and priorities, or between its intentions and how it is actually perceived by staff. You should explain to staff how the information will be used. You can explain the purpose of the survey, its importance, and how this information will help you identify how to improve programs or highlight effective program practices. And ultimately, the tool was designed first and foremost to be an authentic engagement tool for you to think deeply about program quality. So it's important to answer honestly and candidly in order for it to be most effective. And please note, we will not be sharing individual program level quality data publicly. And for the evaluation, this data will be shared publicly only at an aggregate level or by strategy area. You should identify strategies that work best for your program staff. You know your program best, and you can identify whatever strategy works best for you. For example, you could pair it with a staff meeting, or you could hold a survey party and designate a time or a date for staff to take the assessment. The assessment can also be taken on a tablet or a phone. So the program quality tool is designed to be an internal reflective document that will provide information on different facets of quality. It can be used to attain program feedback and opportunities for improvement from your staff. You can use the data as a launching point for discussions with your staff. You can also use the data around where you are strong in reports to your families or to other funders as you apply for funding. And the beauty of having this tool informed by research and other quality tools is that there is some familiarity or standardization of quality domains, which will be recognizable to funders that focus on this type of programming. And it also helps to highlight your strengths, your needs, and priorities. So finally, each program will receive your own program survey results in the form of a program level report. And that will provide information on average responses from all your staff that take the PQSA survey in your program. The report will give each organization useful data about strengths, needs, and capacity priorities. And we've used similar tools and reports in the past initiatives, and grantee organizations found them to be useful resources for strategic planning discussions amongst board members and staff, and particularly about reinforcing the organization's direction or making the case for a shift when it comes to programming for youth and parents. And as a quick reminder, SPR will only use aggregate results to document strengths and identify capacity building support. And we will also report only aggregate results by strategy in our annual reports to OFCY. A second webinar will be shared later, where we will share more information on how to make meaning of your results and how it can be used to support program improvement. So we hope that you find the PQSA report to be useful. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me directly. We appreciate you and everything you do for the children, youth, and families of Oakland. Thank you.